Hi there. So why is the center so important? First of all, I want to highlight the center here, which consists of the squares d4, e4, d5, and e5. So I'll start with a very simple idea. So how about we play the move knight to f3 here, and let's say that our opponent replies with knight to f6, and here we want to improve the knight by placing it on a central square. Here, since we don't have control of the center, then our opponent would simply play the move d6 and the knight would be attacked. And here we already have a problem, because if we move the knight to c4, then the knight might be attacked sooner or later with moves like b5, d5, or bishop to e6. So basically the knight is not stable there. Or if we play a move like knight to d3, then here the knight is blocking this pawn, which normally is good to release the bishop or the queen. And if we go back, then it is black's turn to move, and also this move d6 already improved the activity of the bishop. So all in all, we couldn't control the center here. Now if we check a somewhat similar position, then here it is white to play. So here we have a nice square on the center, but also black has a square on the center. Here white might play the move knight d5. Maybe it's not a very good move because we need to develop basically all of our other pieces. But sooner or later we might play a move like that, because the knight there is going to be much more stable than in the previous example. And if we take a look at this position, the center is symmetrical, but here white is putting some pressure on the center with pawn on c4. Also this knight might have a nice square on e5, and this knight might have a square on e4, although in this case white can also take. But here it is black to play. Black might consider developing the knight on c6. This is not necessarily a bad move, but here we could see the difference that in this position white is putting pressure on d5, whereas black is not putting pressure on d4. The knight is attacking on d4, but it is very well protected with the pawn, the knight, and the queen. That's why in this position, based on the pawn structure, black might consider moves like knight bd7, which at first might not look very logical because it is blocking the bishop, but here black might consider playing a move like b6 and bishop to b7. Remember that bishops can be active even when they are far away from the center, because here the bishop on b7 might put pressure on e4. So as we can see in this case, pawns influence the development of the knight. Also here we might consider moves like c5 and then playing the knight to c6. In this case, replicating white's idea, which is to put pressure on the center. So here, after taking on d4, then the knight has more pressure on d4. Well, also here, for sure, before doing that, black can castle. But since we're analyzing this position, I would also like to highlight that in this case, a move like d takes c4 does not look like a very good idea, because here white would simply take the pawn. So basically here black is helping white develop, and also we are exchanging a central pawn, which are normally the strongest pawns, for a pawn on c4. Having said that, that is not necessarily bad, but we might consider exchanging those pawns probably after a move like bishop to d3 by white, or bishop to e2, where a white would waste a tempo, and then we might consider taking, because in that case we also open this diagonal after a move like b6 or bishop to b7. So again, this is just an example, but here we can see that everything is going around the center. So finally, if we go back to the initial position, let's say that white plays a move like e4, because we want to occupy the center, and black plays bad moves like h6, then we can play a move like d4, because normally occupying the center is the first strategy to control it. And here let's say that black plays a move like a6. We already see that white has a significant advantage, again in the form of activity, because we already see that the queen is active, although we don't have to develop it quickly. The bishop is active, this bishop is active, whereas black basically can only develop a knight. Even here, after moves like knight to f6 or knight to c6, black has to think about moves like e5 or d5 attacking the knights. So all in all, Here white has control of the center and white is already better. So to make it simple, whatever we do on the center will basically define the future of the game.